Somewhere in your kitchen right now sits something that cleans a filthy microwave better than anything sold in a bottle, and it costs about 50 cents. It is a lemon. Not because a lemon is some miracle, but because of what happens when you heat one in a bowl of water. And once you understand that single piece of science, you will never buy microwave spray again. Because here is the strange truth about the baked-on grime on your walls and the smell you cannot seem to get rid of. The expensive sprays are the worst way to deal with both of them, and the old Mexican way, one lemon and a bowl of water, works better for a reason almost no one has ever been told. None of it is magic. It is just a bit of everyday science that got forgotten once the shelves filled up with sprays. So let me explain exactly why it works, starting with that crust you were sure was permanent. Look at the hard brown crust baked onto the roof and the walls of a dirty microwave. It looks permanent, like it has fused into the metal itself, but it has not, and understanding why is the whole key. All of that is simply food. It splattered, the microwave dried it out over months of reheating, and dried food hardens into a shell. But here's the part that changes everything. Dried food is not glued to the metal, it is only stuck to it, and anything held on by dryness comes loose, the instant it turns wet and hot again. That is the entire job of steam. When a bowl of water with a cut lemon is heated on high for 5 minutes, it fills the whole box with hot vapor, and that vapor settles onto every wall and soaks into the hardened food. The food does what dried food always does when moisture returns to it. It swells, it softens, and it lets go of the surface. This is also why simply wiping with a wet cloth never works on a dried microwave. A cold cloth cannot soften a hardened shell. Only heat and moisture together can. And steam delivers both to every surface at once. The lemon is not there just for a pleasant smell either. Its natural acid travels up in the steam and helps break down the grease, while the heat softens it, which is why lemon works noticeably better than plain water alone. So by the time those 5 minutes are done, the crust you were about to fight with a scrubber is already loose. And the reason it then wipes off with almost no effort is that the steam has quietly done the hard part for you. The scrubbing was never really necessary. It was only ever the wrong response to a problem no one had explained. There is one detail that decides whether this works completely or barely at all, and it explains why some people try steam once and give up on it. Everything depends on the door staying shut for a few minutes after the heating stops. Open the second it beeps, it lets the vapor rush out, the walls cool, and the softening simply halts. Kept closed, it holds that trapped heat, and the vapor keeps working the whole time. You can even watch the inside of the door fog over with condensation, and that fog is the proof, because it means the steam has touched every surface in there. Those few extra minutes of doing nothing accomplish more than any amount of scrubbing ever could, which is a strange thing to accept until you understand what the steam is actually doing. Now, there is a reason the roof of a microwave is always the filthiest part, and it happens to be the surface almost everyone forgets. It comes down to the way heat and grease move through the air. Warm, greasy air rises. Every time oily food is heated, some of that fat lifts off as vapor, drifts upward, and settles on the coolest surface it can reach, which is the ceiling directly above the plate. Month after month, that is where the heaviest and darkest buildup collects, right over the food, in the one place no one ever thinks to look. It is the same reason the top of a kitchen cabinet above the stove goes greasy while the front stays clean. Warm fat always travels up. This is also the reason wiping only the walls and the turntable never leaves a microwave truly clean. The dirtiest surface in the entire box is the one over your head, and once the steam has loosened it, that whole ceiling comes clean in a single pass. But the complaint people have about a microwave is rarely the grime they can see. It is the sour smell that keeps returning no matter how often the inside gets wiped down, and there is a very precise reason for it, hidden beneath the glass plate. Underneath the turntable sits a small ring of wheels, the roller ring, and it is where food quietly goes to rot. Drips run off the plate, down into the grooves of that ring, and gather in a spot that stays dark and damp, which is the exact condition bacteria need to grow. That is what actually produces the smell, and because almost no one realizes the ring lifts out at all, it never gets washed. So the walls get cleaned over and over, while the true source sits there untouched, sealed away under a plate that rarely gets lifted. No amount of wiping the walls can reach a smell that is growing underneath them, which is why the problem feels impossible until you know where it lives. The odor fades for a day, only to come creeping back. That returning smell is not a sign the microwave is dirty again. It is a sign the ring was never cleaned in the first place, and a wash in warm, soapy water, the same as any dish, is what finally ends it. And if the reasoning behind all this is the kind of thing you enjoy, understanding why a home comes cleaner with what is already in the kitchen than with a cabinet full of sprays, then you will feel at home here, because I explain the whole casa this way, one room at a time. I have gathered all of it into my little book, and it is linked in the description below if you would like to keep it near. Which brings us to the real question: why the expensive way is actually the wrong way. There are two problems with reaching for a strong chemical spray and a rough scouring pad. The first is the spray itself. A microwave is a food surface, the one place in the kitchen where you heat the very thing you are about to eat, and a harsh cleaner leaves a chemical residue sitting right there, which then warms up into your next meal. Steam and lemon leave nothing behind but clean metal. The second problem is more serious, and it is the single mistake that can ruin a microwave for good. The inside walls carry a thin protective coating over the metal underneath, thinner than it looks, and a scouring pad or an abrasive powder wears straight through it. Once that coating is scratched down to bare metal, moisture and heat reach the steel directly, and that spot begins to rust from the inside out. Rust in a microwave is not just ugly. It can cause the metal to spark and arc when the appliance runs, and there is no repairing it, which means a machine that had years left in it is suddenly finished. So the very tools people grab to clean harder are the tools slowly destroying the thing they are cleaning. The gentle method is the easier one, and it is also the only one that leaves that thin protective coating intact. There is one last piece worth understanding. For the times a faint smell lingers even after everything looks clean. The instinct is to reach for an air freshener, but a freshener only works by covering one smell with a stronger one, and the moment it fades, the old smell is still sitting underneath, exactly where it was. That is why odors treated this way always seem to return. Baking soda works in the opposite direction entirely. It adds no scent of its own at all. It draws the odor molecules out of the air and neutralizes them, which is why a small open dish of it left inside overnight leaves a microwave smelling of nothing rather than of flowers. It is the same principle behind the open box of baking soda so many people keep in the back of the refrigerator, quietly pulling smells out of the air. A bowl of water with a little vinegar does the very same work in a microwave. They actually get rid of the smell at its source, which is the only way it stays gone for good. It is worth noticing that the sprays sold to fight odor are built to be bought again and again, which a smell that had genuinely disappeared would never require. So the whole of it comes down to a single idea. The grime and the smell in a microwave are not problems you overpower. They are problems you loosen and lift away once you know where they really live. Steam softens what looks permanent. The grease you cannot see is waiting on the ceiling. The smell that keeps returning is hiding under the plate, and the harsh cleaners sold to help are quietly doing harm. Knowing why each of those is true is what turns a chore you used to dread into 10 quiet minutes with a lemon, and it is why this method has outlasted every spray that was ever marketed to replace it. A method that costs 50 cents and works better than the product does not need advertising, and that is exactly why it was passed down at kitchen tables instead of stocked on shelves. This is how a kitchen was kept clean long before there was a separate bottle sold for every corner of it, with what was already on the counter and a real understanding of how things work. Next, we will look at why the refrigerator holds onto a smell even longer than the microwave, and what is truly causing it. Because once you understand the reasons, you stop fighting your home and start working with it. And that is a thing we are only just starting to remember.